Hello, YouTube land. Can't even talk. I'm so excited about talking about Alien Earth. I got 2 pages of notes from Alien Earth. See, I can't even say it right. Let me tell you, this was a good show. And I'm not a science fiction aficionado. I am just a regular watcher of Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Stargate, and of course, the Alien movies. So my opinion is my opinion. And I will tell you this up front. If you don't like Alien Earth, you just have bad taste. This is science fiction with a sharp edge on TV. Just sitting on your tube. And this is the kind of stuff you pay money to go to the theaters with. I mean, they brought all of the glitz, the bells, and with actors that I've never heard of. And a story that's just really tight. So, what we're dealing with here is the year 2120. It was a very good year until a plane crashed. And it wasn't a plane, it was a gigantic spaceship that a cyborg, or I don't know what you call these things, synths or something, caused to crash into a building on Earth. And you got to understand there's 5 countries that are ruling the Earth at this point in 2120. And so they've gotten really good technology in that time. And I believe they said in the description that this was supposed to have taken place before the first Alien, but I don't know. Because I don't remember them saying that in the first Alien with Sigourney Weaver whether they knew of these creatures or not. But we'll just overlook that little stray point there. But anyway, first off, what they're doing, they start off with the fact that they are creating synthezoid people, like the robots. You might as well just say robots. But they're not really robots. They're so advanced, they're close to human. And you can't tell them apart unless they tell you, or you just notice something about them. And the way they do it in this is to actually take your memories, mind, and soul and put it in another being. And this is what they were doing to children. And for some reason they said which they couldn't do it with adults. And there's probably a story on that. So anyway, moving on. You got to remember that one of the phrases in this was, specimens are the mission. So you got one group here named Yutani. I don't know what company she's with, but she's the one where specimens are the mission. And the place is Prodigy, Neverland, a research island. And a lot of this you'll have to watch again and again. I had to separate my watching on this. The first episode was so good that I had to really just stop. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go to another episode because it was overwhelming on the first episode. I mean, that's how it was. So it was good to me. So I enjoyed that. And there was at the place where they were making the synthezoid people, there was a person there in the background who was helping them, I guess, managing them. But out of this being in the future, it's almost like he was wearing a business suit while the rest of them were doing all this work on these computers. And I thought to myself, it's always some man in a business suit that's doing something evil. And he's just, and you don't know if it's evil with the people that they have turned into these synthezoid people. And I'll get the name right on the next review because there will be one. And I got on here, human to synth program. And they're using young kids. And also, another little thing I noticed on there, there's just little tinges of little things in it that are interesting. Like at the 43-minute mark on the first episode, they were looking at a screen when she first sees her brother, the woman synthoid person. Her name is Wednesday. Maybe it's not Wednesday. Anyway, I'll get back to it. But she sees her brother, and she didn't expect to see him on the screen. And then when she looks at it after 43 minutes, there's this sound that sounds like a Star Trek beaming up, like, and then it goes into music, but it sounds like Star Trek. And so one of the things I kept thinking about was this: it's like a Star Trek episode of Borg, but only the Borg couldn't compete with what was happening here. And they did not hold off too long on this. They let you get started on this show, and you saw how it was setting up, and then and when they put the people into these young kids into these bodies, they showed 5 kids, 4 to 5 kids, and it looked like they were copies of older models. And I wasn't sure, but it looks like the black guy was looks like the same copy, only a younger version of the guy that's drove the ship into the building. And let me tell you, when they drove that building, that spaceship into the building on Earth, it come eerily close to looking like the Twin Towers. They just stopped, just edge stopped, like instead of, because it looked like it was 2 and it was headed straight forward, and only they didn't have the collapse, and they did it at the bottom. And so that was kind of freaky on that. And then on this, there's also a Elon Musk type of businessman, just like him, heartless, somewhat evil, only concerned about himself and not about the whole entire population. And he's so flippant and rich that he just doesn't care about everything that goes on in the world, only with what he wants. So you could die in a second and he would not care. Well, when this young lady finds out that her brother is recruited to go see about the people that got hurt in the spaceship crash, she acts, I'm calling him Elon Musk because it's just a horrible person. I know a lot of you probably love Elon Musk, but you get no sympathy here from me. Let's see. Elon and Butler. Well, I can't figure out. They didn't say his name real clear in this. They just showed this nasty attitude. And so on that first episode, and it was just, let's see. And her name is Wendy in this part. Her first name was, I think, Marcy at the beginning, but she changes to Wendy. Don't quote me on that. But I know her name is now Wendy. Well, anyway, she finds her brother. And, of course, by the time the people start exploring the spaceship, it's just starting to crawl with these creatures. And Sigourney Weaver would be proud of this young lady who's playing this part here, because it reminds me of her. And I mean, not in a bad way or a good way. It's just like she's got that strong feminine strength that you would need to play a part like this in this movie. So that part, I thought they did good casting. I don't know who this woman is, but she looks just like a grown woman with childlike expressions in her eyes. She's wide open looking at things. She's curious, and all of the young synths are children, and they're in these grown bodies, and they are just like 12 and 13, 14-year-old people. So she finds her brother, and then she has to convince him that she's who she is. And her brother almost gets killed about 3 or 4 times before she gets to him. And they also find the eggs that they've laid somewhere, and it's getting ready to be on this thing. So if you have not watched this, you need to go ahead and catch up. This is a good watch. Let's see, any other things I missed on this. Yeah, apparently they were showing a scene where they were watching Wendy, and she apparently can change some things electronically or do some things that they never knew she could do, and they just happened to find out when they were watching her. They can look through their eyes, and they were watching her, and the Elon Musk man said, "We didn't do anything to have her do something with this film that she was watching." And this lady, who is the one that runs the program to put those young kids in the body, she's very sympathetic to them. She knows her kids, she's trying to treat them nice, and she's basically trying to keep them away from Elon Musk. And so he's sitting there saying, how was she able to do that? And the lady who helped make them, she's just slightly smiling in the background, like everybody else is inquisitive, and she's just standing there like, oh, you just found that out. Yeah, this is good. And so when it comes to the Elon Musk character, he does state one thing that maybe is wrong with people who are endowed with money, cash, and privilege. They're so elite that the average person is not good for them, not good enough for them. And he says something that makes so much sense to what's happening with some of these people. He says he's basically a genius. Well, maybe I said it to myself, because they were talking about a genius in part of it. I said, this is a genius looking for another genius to have a conversation with. And I think he did mention something similar to that. And so he says he can't find anybody on his level. The narcissistic behavior of this over-rich man is just unreal. They don't understand real life. They just want to play with real life. And it's just a shame to know that we already have people like this in our atmosphere now. So this is going to be a good show, and you got to like science fiction, and it's, to me, it's like nostalgia. And that with the nostalgia, this is mine. This is my nostalgia. I grew up with Alien. I grew up with Sigourney Weaver, and it's good to see the same things that's happening now in this show. Similar things happen in the first original movie, in the second movie. You know, the talking around the table of the crew before the disaster hits. You know, they're eating, talking, and everything. They have that same scene in the first episode. So I'm so glad they gave us 2 episodes, because like I said, that first one was so much, I said, no, I'm not watching that second one. I had to wait a day or 2. Plus I had things to do, so I couldn't watch it all the way through. But this is something that I think the science fiction people will really enjoy, and it's just amazing. I can't say enough good things on 2 episodes. Now, you know how life is. 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes may go straight down the drain, but this is keeping the excitement of it. They're giving you full impact of the creatures, and it's just it should be a good run. I don't know if they'll be able to make a season 2 on this, because it looks like everybody's just getting ready to get toe up in season 1 here. So I usually don't like horror sci-fi, but Alien was one movie that I allowed to be one of those horror things that, you know, where people getting knocked off. It doesn't dive hardcore into hardcore horror, but it dives hardcore into science fiction and mix it up just like a recipe. So give everyone their props on this. They did good. And I'll let you know on the next episode. I wasn't going to do any more reviews, but then this thing came along. So just wait for my big brother things too, because they're nothing like Alien, but I like them both. All right, folks, have a great evening, and thank you for dropping in.